Psychology suggests that people who struggle to build a traditional social life are often deeply misunderstood. You aren't broken, you aren't awkward, and you certainly aren't the problem. The reality is that for some, social life feels heavier, more exhausting, and infinitely more complex than it does for the average person. If you've spent years feeling like an outsider, it's not because of a personal failing. There are profound psychological drivers beneath the surface that go deeper than most realize. 1. An intolerance for inauthenticity. Consider how many times you've forced a smile while silently counting the seconds until a conversation ends. People who struggle to form easy friendships often possess a high insincerity radar. Whether it's gossip, manipulation, or a manufactured personality, your brain detects it instantly. Research indicates that as our self-awareness increases, our tolerance for inauthentic behavior drops. You would genuinely rather be alone than spend another minute pretending to enjoy a shallow interaction. You value your emotional energy too much to waste it on people who smile to your face but hide their true intentions. 2. You crave substance over small talk. Have you ever been in a crowded room and felt completely invisible? That's because shallow chatter doesn't engage your mind. You aren't interested in what's up. You want to talk about ideas, existential purpose, and the dreams that keep people awake at night. Small talk feels like a cognitive drain because your brain is wired for depth. You don't just want bodies in a room, you want people who feel like home. Until you find that resonance, silence feels far safer than the performance of connecting. 3. The weight of the analytical mind. Do you replay conversations in your head for hours or even days after they've happened? People who find friendship difficult often possess highly active, analytical minds. You aren't just talking, you are evaluating your tone, the receiver's reaction, and the impression you left. Psychology shows that high self-awareness can lead to hyper-consciousness in social settings. Instead of relaxing, your brain is processing every micro-gesture and shift in the atmosphere. This overthinking creates an immense pressure that makes even the most casual encounter feel like a performance.
4. The burden of social incongruence. Many who struggle socially have spent their entire lives feeling fundamentally different. Perhaps your humor, your niche interests, or your worldview simply doesn't align with the environment around you. Psychologists call this social incongruence. When your internal frequency doesn't match the external world, you often choose distance over the risk of being misunderstood. This isn't a sign that you're antisocial, it's a sign that you've rarely felt truly seen. 5. Independence as a psychological stronghold. What others mistake for loneliness is often a high level of self-sufficiency. You have learned to entertain yourself, solve your own problems, and find solace in your own thoughts. In psychology, this is known as low social dependency. You rely on internal validation rather than the constant craving for external approval or attention. This doesn't make you cold, it makes you resilient. You would rather wait for a meaningful connection than compromise your identity just to fit into a group.
6. The shield of past experience. Invisible scars often dictate our social boundaries. If you've experienced childhood exclusion, betrayal by a trusted confidant, or the coldness of people who didn't value you, your brain naturally becomes protective. You hesitate, withdraw, and observe long before you grant someone access to your inner world. You aren't closed off, you are cautious. You've learned through experience that trust is a privilege, and you've set a high bar for who is allowed to cross it. 7. The rapidly depleting social battery. Do you feel physically drained after a conversation that others seem to find effortless? This happens because your nervous system is more sensitive. While you interact, you are simultaneously processing tone, body language, context, and emotional subtext. While extroverts are recharged by a crowd, your social battery is under a heavy load. For you, solitude isn't just a preference, it is a biological requirement for your recovery. 8. The shadow of judgment. The desire to be funny, confident, and likable is often eclipsed by the pressure to be perfect. This fear of negative evaluation is a primary reason why many people withdraw. You aren't necessarily avoiding connection, you are avoiding the vulnerability of being judged or rejected. You are protecting your real self from a world that sometimes feels too critical. It's important to remember that the most loyal friends are often the ones who understand this fear best. 9. The richness of your inner world. All these traits, the overthinking, the sensitivity, the independence, might make traditional friendship harder to find, but they also signal a much richer inner life. You notice the details others miss. You feel more intensely and think more deeply. When you finally do form a bond, it isn't a casual acquaintance. It is rare, meaningful, and built to last. The bottom line: struggling to make friends doesn't mean you are flawed. It means your mind operates with a level of depth and awareness that most people haven't reached yet. You think deeply, you feel deeply, and you connect deeply. People like you rarely find instant friendships, but the connections you do make are the ones that last a lifetime. Sometimes the people who struggle the most socially are the very friends everyone wishes they were lucky enough to have.